Chapter 51. You leave. I self-destruct. In his heart, the status of the life goddess was extremely high. If there was anything that could compare to his desire for power, then it was only the life goddess. Even if the life goddess scolded him or hit him, he didn't want to see the disappointment in her eyes at this moment. The pain contained in that disappointment could be imagined, and you can imagine what kind of mood the life goddess was in right now. I'm sorry, life. Maybe I did wrong, but now there's no possibility of changing it. Now I can only continue and fulfill my wish. After I finish my business, we'll work together to find a way to help him lift the curse. Okay? The god of destruction said softly. Upon hearing this, the god of destruction was shocked. He didn't expect a life goddess to make such a decision. He knew very well how important a god's divine spark was to their existence. If the life goddess chose to self-destruct, it would be equivalent to sacrificing her own life for the sake of revenge. The god of destruction hesitated for a moment, but he knew that the life goddess was serious about her decision. He sighed and said, "All right, I won't leave. We will face this together." The life goddess nodded, her eyes filled with tears. The god of destruction knew that she was deeply hurt and that it would take a long time for her to recover. He silently vowed to himself that he would make things right and bring back the harmony between the gods. What? The god of destruction was shocked. Such words were not easy to say. Moreover, the tone of the life goddess was decisive, with a hint of determination in her expression. The heart of the god of destruction sank as he looked at the life goddess. His crimson eyes revealed an uncertain expression. The life goddess closed her eyes, and tears streamed down her face. She really didn't want to see her husband become like this. No matter what, he was still her husband. She would not fight with him, but she could be his seal, completely capable of keeping him in check. Recalling the stunning results of her life prayer ritual, the life goddess felt even more pain in her heart than she showed on the surface. She had already understood why the prayer ritual had resulted in such a way. All of this, perhaps, was caused by the destruction god himself. She didn't actually hate him or blame him. She just felt sorry for him. She had decided in her heart that from now on, she would always be with him and never leave his side. Seeing the tears left by the life goddess, the destruction god floated forward and gently embraced her body. I'm sorry. I didn't know that my actions would cause you so much pain. It's my fault. All right, I'll listen to you and not go. However, even if I do nothing now, all of this is irreversible. 108 thought pillars have already started to take effect, and the expansion of the divine realm has begun. And those gods down there are no match for me. Although they have an extra level 1 god, they are far outnumbered by my side with hundreds of godly powers. Unless the sea god can break the seal, no one can stop all of this from happening. But the sea god can't possibly break that seal. The life goddess nestled in his embrace and shook her head gently. No, that doesn't matter anymore. Stay by my side, okay? I just want to be with you. I don't want to worry about anything else. Is that okay? The god of destruction was somewhat surprised by the life goddess's attitude at this moment. This was the first time he had seen the life goddess in such a state, but he nodded without hesitation. Of course, I'll stay by your side all the time. Let them do whatever they want below, okay? Okay. The life goddess seemed to relax a lot, opened her arms, and hugged the god of destruction tightly. The creative breath of life and the destructive intent of destruction constantly collided and dissolved with each other, and their divine power fluctuations towards each other still made the sky above shimmer with purple and green. The fighting gods below have no idea about the current state of the husband and wife in the sky above the divine realm. Battles in the divine realm are never large in scale. It is almost unheard of for a dozen or so level 1 gods to collide like they are now. The divine realm is filled with dense spiritual energy, which exerts a great deal of pressure on living beings. Therefore, despite their immense strength, gods can't cause much damage in the divine realm. For example, the previous destruction caused by the fire god only burned a few thousand square meters of swamp. If this happened in the mortal realm, the fire created by the fire god could have burned half a continent. At this moment, the battle in the sky is extremely intense. The 7 deadly sins are up against the 7 elemental gods, and their relationship was already very poor. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, they are particularly jealous of each other. They fight one-on-one. Meanwhile, Rong-Niambing has gone to find the god of ruin, and the two have clashed head-on. Chapter 52. Battle. The destroyer was dressed in extremely ornate armor, with a silver halo shining brightly behind him. He wielded a pair of huge hammers, and every time he swung them, the sky would boom as if it was about to be shattered. He employed the method of 1 power subduing 10 magic and had another nickname, the god of ruin. In terms of pure strength, he was the strongest in the divine realm. Rong-Niambing couldn't compare to him in terms of strength, but in terms of elemental control, he was much stronger. As the god of ruin swung his hammer, Rong-Niambing moved his right hand to summon a huge fire dragon, followed by a water dragon, a wind dragon, an earth dragon, a light dragon, a dark dragon, and a space dragon. The 7 giant dragons attacked the god of ruin from all sides without directly colliding with him. Although the destructive power of the god of ruin was formidable, as long as he smashed one of the giant dragons, Rong-Niambing would immediately release another one. In terms of speed, the god of ruin was also no match for Rong-Niambing, so he could only swing his hammers in place. At this point, the two sides were already competing in terms of divine power consumption. The divine power of a first-level god is incredibly vast, and it's clear that this battle cannot be resolved quickly. The fighting styles of the other gods were similar. At their level, skill had already become of little use. Unless it was something like the sea god's endless storm or the god of destruction's thunder of destruction, which had the power to defeat enemies, their fights were usually just a direct clash of divine power. The divine power in the sky sparkled with colorful light, but at the top of the castle, the emotion god and the butterfly god were extremely anxious. The window was covered with a dense seal of divine power. They had tried various methods, but could not open it. When they first came, it was the sea god who used his power to guide them in. But now, they couldn't even contact the sea god. What should we do? Yuao. The butterfly goddess was extremely anxious. Her father's aura was changing greatly, and his divine sense was fluctuating continuously, indicating that his mental state was not good. In this situation, her father might face a great deal of trouble. How can they save her father? This was the biggest problem. Moreover, her mother was pregnant and could give birth at any moment. The emotion god breathed a little heavily. He had already consumed a lot of divine power in various ways while trying to break the seal on the window. At this moment, looking inwards from the window, one couldn't see anything clearly, as everything inside was affected by divine power. Even with his superhuman vision, all he saw was a mirage. Without being able to see or contact him, they had no way of knowing the state of the sea god right now. The emotion god grasped butterfly god's shoulders and said in a deep voice, "Wutonji, at this time, we must remain calm. We cannot lose our bearings. In any case, your father and mother are not in mortal danger, so you must not panic. Since we can't get in, we must first resolve the situation outside." Tang Wutonji gritted her teeth. If the emotion god wasn't by her side, she might really have lost control of her emotions, but now, she was barely able to keep herself composed. Good. Tang Wutonji's eyes gleamed with a cold light. With her parents' situation unknown, she was already truly angry. She reached out to grasp the emotion god's hand, and both of their eyes lit up with a strong golden color. Behind the butterfly goddess, a light flashed and a pair of dazzling butterfly wings spread out behind her. These butterfly wings were different from pure butterfly feathers. On the surface of the wings, there was a layer of fine scales that were not easily noticeable. The wings were a pale gold color, but under the illumination of external light, they were emit a noble purple color, creating a mysterious, noble, and dazzling purple gold color. As the wings spread out, a purple golden light radiated from the butterfly goddess, and her previously gentle aura suddenly became strong. 5 circles of purple golden light emerged behind her head, concealing her pinkish blue long hair, making her even more stunning. With her gaze fixed, the butterfly goddess turned her head to look at the emotion god beside her. The emotion god wrapped his arm around her, and the butterfly goddess half turned and leaned into his embrace. At the same time, the butterfly wings behind her folded inward, completely enveloping both herself and the emotion god. In an instant, a huge purple golden butterfly shadow appeared in the air, with the wings of the shadow constantly displaying a gradient of purple and gold, which was extremely peculiar. At the same time, a majestic aura also emerged. The 7 original sin gods, the 7 elemental gods, and Rong-Niambing and the god of destruction, who were in the midst of their battle, all paused at the same time and looked towards the core of the god's forbidden land not far behind them. When the purple golden light appeared, they clearly felt a power that belonged only to the supreme god emanating from that direction. As a level 1 god, they were already among the most powerful beings in the god's realm, but compared to the supreme god, there was still an insurmountable gap. But why would the supreme god appear at this time? Could it be that the sea god is being released? But is that really possible? Even the god of destruction, who was confronting the life goddess in the sky, couldn't help but cast his gaze downwards. When he saw the purple golden golden light emanating from the butterfly goddess, he couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Chapter 53, Armor Transformation. They were surprised because at this moment, the butterfly god clearly emitted an aura that belonged only to the supreme god, and it was the exact same aura as the sea god. Although the god of destruction had thoroughly sealed the sea god, in reality, he still feared him the most deep down. Among the gods in the divine realm, only the sea god could truly contend with him. While the life goddess was powerful, one reason was that she was his wife, and another was that she herself wasn't particularly adept at combat. On the other hand, the sea god carried the divine essence of the Asura god, who was once known as the strongest warrior in the divine realm. Even when facing the incredibly powerful dragon god back then, the Asura god was the true backbone. Without the Asura god blocking the dragon god head on, the divine realm would probably have been shattered. At this moment, when they suddenly sensed the aura of the sea god, and even some of the aura of the Asura god, how could the god of destruction and the many gods he brought with him not be wary? If the sea god reappeared and teamed up with the life goddess, with two supreme gods present, even more gods probably wouldn't be able to contend with them. Currently, there are only three true supreme gods in the divine realm, which are the sea god, the destruction god, and the life goddess. The new generation of gods of good and evil are only temporary, and although they have inherited the divine position, their inheritance of the divine position is not complete. So the two great god kings of the underworld cycle may still return. Of course, whether they will actually return is hard to say, and the reason the two supreme gods have retained some of the divine positions in the divine realm is because they fear that the current two newly crowned god kings may not be able to control the situation in the divine realm. Therefore, in terms of strength, there are only those three who have reached the level of supreme gods. It's impossible. The destruction god frowned. On the other hand, the life goddess's pretty face showed a thoughtful expression. As the one in charge of creation and life, she vaguely understood something that might be impossible. Just then, the purple and gold light on the butterfly goddess suddenly burst forth, but her physical body faded away, transforming into a stream of purple and gold light that quietly changed. The god of destruction's eyes lit up, and he subconsciously said, "I understand." The butterfly goddess has the bloodline inheritance of the sea god, and she used a special method to stimulate the power of her bloodline within herself, which mixed some of the power of the supreme gods in her abilities. However, it is only a matter of power, at most allowing her to temporarily possess the combat power of the first level god, but it cannot be sustained. As he was speaking, the god of destruction saw that there were some changes in the situation below. Rings of light quietly appeared, converging into a halo. Each of these rings had a different color, and every time one appeared, the emotions of all the gods present would be influenced slightly. They represented the fluctuations of the seven emotions: joy, anger, grief, happiness, love, hate, and evil. The god of emotions. Yes, wasn't it the god of emotions that was previously enveloped in the purple golden light of the butterfly god? Because the aura that the butterfly god released was too shocking. They had all forgotten that there was still a god of emotions present within the wings of the butterfly god. At this moment, it was precisely the god of emotions who was releasing his light wheel. The seven ring light wheel represented the power of a first level god. But was it really just seven rings? The moment the last circle representing evil lit up, suddenly, a purple and golden halo appeared abruptly. The eighth ring. Yes, it was the eighth ring, a strange phenomenon that appeared in the halo behind the god of emotions. This was simply unimaginable, at least for the gods present on the side of the god of destruction. It was a bad omen. Originally, the life goddess already had a presence equivalent to that of a first level god, but now, her strength had been amplified again. The eight ring halo didn't even exist in the divine realm, but it appeared on the god of emotions at this moment. What's even more shocking is the changes that occurred on the god of emotions body. Layers upon layers of purple and golden halos appeared on the god of emotions, at first like threads, but then, they condensed into a set of full body armor that completely covered the god of emotions, exuding the majesty of the supreme god. The purple gold armor on the emotion god's body looked like scales, with long shoulder guards extending outward in three layers. The final layer hung down and slightly touched the side of his biceps. The chest plate was muscular and extended downward, protecting the waist with a scale-like armor that shone with a dazzling purple golden light. His entire body was covered by it. Behind him, a pair of huge dragon wings unfolded. In the emotion god's hand, there was a bright golden spear, the golden dragon spear. He let out a long howl towards the sky, and his own aura suddenly burst out, overwhelmingly surpassing all the level 1 gods present, and directly approaching the two supreme gods in the high sky. The face of the god of destruction was gloomy and somewhat unsightly, but he still floated in front of the goddess of life, without any action. Chapter 54, the descent of the original sin god into the divine punishment array. That's the sea god's trump card. I miscalculated on this point. The emotion god's personal strength is only at the level of just reaching a level 1 god, but the fusion between him and the butterfly goddess is excellent. What's more important is that he and Wutanji's fusion is extremely tight. After the two are fused, they can actually make divine power sublime and emit even stronger combat power, which is truly unexpected. However, if the sea god thinks he can rely on them to deal with me, then he's still too naive. As the destruction god spoke, the emotion god below had already taken action. With a long howl from his mouth, he suddenly raised his arm, and the golden dragon spear in his hand burst forth with incredibly bright golden light. That intense golden light, like a flash of lightning, had already slashed through the sky and shot straight toward the greed god. The golden light almost disappeared in an instant. The face of the god of greed changed, and he disregarded the opponent in front of him. His body suddenly curled up, and a dark golden light burst out from his body. The greedy face turned toward the golden dragon spear and sucked in with all its might. Suddenly, under the suction force, the flight trajectory of the golden dragon spear was affected. The golden light flashed and disappeared, and the god of greed let out a loud roar. Although his greedy face did indeed affect the golden dragon spear, it was not a complete influence. At this moment, the emotion god's combat power had already surpassed that of an ordinary level 1 god, and this attack was a full force strike. So the god of greed, who also had an opponent, was unable to completely avoid it. A dark golden liquid appeared on his shoulder, indicating that he was injured. The next moment, the golden dragon spear had returned to the emotion god's hand, and the emotion god had turned into a stream of light, rushing towards the god of greed, preparing to cooperate with their level 1 god to crush one of the enemy's level 1 gods first. As long as they could defeat one of the enemy's level 1 gods, under the current situation, it would inevitably be like knocking down dominoes, rapidly gaining control of the entire battlefield. However, just as the god of greed was injured, at the next moment, the god of ruin who confronted Rong Nyambing suddenly let out a low roar, with a pair of huge hammers sweeping out. Their divine power erupted without any restraint, forcing Rong Nyambing to retreat. At the same time, the other 6 original sin gods also spared no effort to expend their divine power and did the same, forcing their respective opponents to retreat. After forcing their opponents to retreat, they did not attack again, but flew back at high speed, flying backwards toward the back. Pulled by a powerful aura, the level 1 gods on the side of the god of emotions quickly pursued them. The opponents had just launched their strongest attacks, and their divine power and soul were exhausted. It was a good opportunity to take advantage of the situation and establish their advantage. However, at this moment, suddenly, a low chant sounded. A strange purple light lit up from behind the other 8 first level gods. The god of emotion and others finally realized that, at some unknown time, the second and third level gods brought by the god of destruction had gathered together and formed a strange formation. The 7 deadly sins and the god of destruction retreated, like 8 gems embedded in this formation. A layer of purple halo suddenly protruded outward, and an incomparable force instantly shook the god of emotion, Rong Nyambing, and the 7 elemental gods away. God said, "Greed is a sin." A low voice resounded. It was the voices of hundreds of gods chanting at the same time. Powerful mental force suddenly soared and formed a huge face of greed in the sky, with a diameter of tens of thousands of meters. The god of greed also turned into a dark golden color at the same time. Although the 7-ringed halo in its back did not become 8 like the god of emotion, it also became much thicker and stronger. God said, "Lust is a sin." The chanting sound rose again. This time, the sky turned into a dark red color, and the god of lust also turned into a huge dark red glowing body. God said, "Gluttony is a sin." The face of gluttony emerged, and a dark yellow light burst forth. God said, "Sloth is a sin." The face of sloth, in a dark green color, emerged. God said, "Wrath is a sin." The face of wrath roared and appeared in the high sky in dark orange. God said, "Envy is a sin." The face of envy emerged, and the god of envy shimmered with a dark pink light and appeared. God said, "Pride is a sin." The god of pride, in deep blue, was the last to emerge. The sky also turned into a deep blue color. The 7 major sin gods led all the gods present and chanted loudly. All worlds are illusory. The sin gods do not exist. The original sin descends. Heaven and earth shall perish. Buzz. Amidst the intense buzzing sound, the entire sky seemed to tremble in the next moment. The 7 colors that had previously appeared simultaneously appeared again. This time, the colorful clouds and mist enveloped the entire forbidden land of the gods. The terrifying pressure suppressed everything and descended upon them, causing even the 9 first-level gods of the emotion domain to slowly descend to the ground with a greatly changed expression on their faces. Floating in front of the god of destruction, the goddess of life looked a bit pale and said, "You actually allowed them to use the original sin descent formation. Do you know that this is the formation of divine punishment and retribution? How could you let them use it like this? They are the original sin gods themselves. If they can't control the original sin they wield, it will surely ravage the divine realm." Chapter 55. I can't win. The god of destruction smiled indifferently and said, "With you and me here, why worry about not being able to control them? Besides, you should know that this original sin descent divine punishment formation can only be deployed by relying on the central hub of the divine realm. The central hub of the divine realm is in my hands, so if I want to block it, I can do it anytime. Come stand by my side, and I can lift this formation. I never intended to harm these first-level gods. As long as they witness the glory of the divine realm with me, that is enough. I only have the best interests of the divine realm in my heart, and I hope to make it even stronger. When I complete the expansion of the divine realm, whether they accept me or not, they will have to accept the facts. Then they will understand that I am only acting in the public interest, and that I simply wish to make the divine realm even more powerful. I won't win." Destruction God looked at the goddess of life with a wry smile. "At this point, do you still think I won't win? Once the original sin descends divine punishment array is activated, not to mention these first level gods, even if the sea god really appeared now, he might not be able to resist it. This is a divine punishment array based on the divine realm's central hub and is designed specifically to punish the highest gods. Back then, we relied on 3 divine punishment arrays to stop the charge of the divine beasts group and eventually turn the tables. Now, I want to see if the sea god still has a chance to turn things around." The life goddess looked a bit dazed as she gazed at the destruction god in front of her, with a hint of pity mixed in with her helplessness. The destruction god finally grew a little angry. "Why are you looking at me like that? Do you think I'm not as good as Tang San in your heart?" The life goddess shook her head and said, "No, in my heart, you will always be the best. You are my husband. Even if you have any flaws, in my heart, I will only see them as virtues." Hearing her words, the destruction god was momentarily stunned, and his expression softened. He instinctively drifted forward a few meters and reached out to take the life goddess's hand. The goddess of life took a step back, avoiding his hand, and shook her head with bitterness, saying, "But I can see your strengths, and I can see other strengths as well. Can't you see the strengths of Tang San, the sea god? Since he entered the divine realm, everything he has done has been cautious and well thought out. Have you ever seen him take any action without being certain? The reason he disagrees with your expansion of the divine realm, in addition to his bad premonition, is because he isn't certain about it. Expanding the divine realm is inherently risky. Our need for spiritual power will increase, and we need more worlds to support us. I originally thought you would gradually expand the divine realm, increasing its area bit by bit, but now it seems that you really want to do it all at once. Judging from the number of spiritual power columns you have already generated, you may want to expand the divine realm several times over. Have you considered what would happen if the divine realm did not absorb enough external spiritual power, causing the gradual loss of the divine realm's origin?" The god of destruction decisively replied, "That's impossible. I have already investigated it thoroughly. Outside of this world we control, there are many worlds that we can gather and use to supplement spiritual power, making the divine realm even stronger." Goddess of life said, "Nothing is absolute. You are impulsive in your actions and your investigations are not meticulous enough. Moreover, if Tang San's premonition is correct, what will you do? In case of a calamity in the divine realm, if you use all the divine power you have accumulated to expand the divine realm, it will result in a thin outer wall of the divine realm, and you will be the culprit of the divine realm's inability to cope with the disaster. Stop now, while you still can prevent destruction. Also, I believe that Tang San must have a backup plan. The god of emotion should not be his only ace up his sleeve." The eyes of the god of destruction gradually became sharp, and he said coldly, "Let's see then. Let's see who is right and who will be the ultimate winner. I'll be here waiting for the sea god to see if he can turn the tide. What I have decided will not change, and the release of the divine power in the pillar of divine power is already irreversible. At least, with my power, I cannot reverse it." The goddess of life exclaimed urgently, "But what about me? I'm willing to help you." The god of destruction didn't speak anymore. Instead, he slowly closed his eyes, ignoring the proposal from the goddess of life. The god of emotions, Nyambing, and the 7 elemental gods all had extremely solemn expressions in the face of the arrival of the original sin gods and the divine punishment formation. Chapter 56. Escape. The god of emotions still wore the purple and gold armor that the butterfly god had transformed for him. Only his eyes could be seen, and they were filled with solemnity. The divine formation in front of them was too powerful. The pressure wasn't just coming from the gods on the other side, but from the entire divine realm. Under the influence of the formation, the entire divine realm seemed to be gathering its strength to suppress them. Moreover, facing the arrival of the original sin gods and the divine punishment formation, the negative emotions in their hearts were constantly being triggered. Greed, hatred, lust, and other negative emotions began to surge. Even though they were all first-level gods with strong resistance, this influence would gradually weaken their divine power. "Teacher, what should we do?" The god of emotions turned his head and asked Nyambing. Nyambing's face was equally ugly, and he said in a deep voice, "This is the divine punishment formation that the original sin god has brought with him. It is one of the 3 great divine formations in the divine realm. Unless we can trigger the arrival of the elemental gods to join the divine punishment formation, there is no way we can fight against it. However, our divine power is currently insufficient, and without a divine realm center as the formation's core, we cannot utilize it." Beside him, the god of light said in a low voice, "Even if we could trigger the arrival of the elemental gods to join the divine punishment formation, we cannot do so. If we were to engage in a large-scale formation battle, it would probably tear a gaping hole in the divine realm, and far too many gods would be affected. I never expected that the god of destruction would resort to such a tyrannical formation to deal with us at all costs. We're really in trouble now. If we continue like this, we'll only run out of divine power and be captured by them." Ice melting minds nodded and said, "Our only option now is to break through and find another way. We can't all be trapped here. You owl." The god of emotions responded quickly, "I'm here." Nyambing's eyes glinted with cold light. "You lead the way, and we'll follow behind. We need to break out of here. We must not let this original sin god punishment array fully manifest." "Okay." The emotion god didn't hesitate and immediately acted. A strong light shone from his body, and a giant vertical eye appeared behind him. This giant vertical eye sparkled with strange light. In its pupils, it seemed to reflect the whole world, time, space, elements, and all kinds of emotions, all flashing in disorder. However, amidst the chaos, it contained the laws of heaven and earth. The 7 elemental gods quickly gathered behind him, and Nyambing's own 7 rings radiated, protecting the emotion god and temporarily resisting the pressure brought by the original sin god punishment array. In the distance, the 7 great gods of original sin shone with extremely bright light. Seeing them gathered together, they did not interfere and allowed them to concentrate their power. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light burst into the sky and flew towards the distance, a 50-meter wide golden road reaching the horizon in an instant. Yes, this is the fusion technique of the emotion god and the butterfly god, the golden road. The butterfly god transforms into armor, which is equivalent to undergoing a fusion of divine souls with the emotion god, allowing the emotion god's light will to expand from 7 rings to 8 rings, becoming an existence second only to the supreme god. The strong light flashed in the air and disappeared. At the same time, the 8-ring light wheel behind the emotion god also bloomed, enveloping the elemental gods and Nyambing with a layer of golden light, and shot towards the distant path which was opened by the golden road. They didn't need to worry about the safety of the life goddess. After all, she was the wife of the god of destruction and also an existence second only to the supreme god. The god of destruction wouldn't suppress her. They needed to protect living creatures and contact more gods to have a chance to rescue the sea god family. "Do you still want to leave now?" The greedy god, who was injured on his shoulder, snorted and narrowed his small eyes, which were shining with brilliance. He, who had turned into a transparent dark golden color, pointed a finger in the void. Suddenly, the space in front of them turned into a dark golden color, and in the direction of the divine council, a faint light flickered. In the next moment, the 7-colored light of the divine punishment array created by the original sin god suddenly increased dramatically, and the small area marked by the greed god twisted with light. After a moment of undulating like water, the light flickered and the 9 first-level godly beings, including the emotion god, reappeared in front of them within the area marked by the greed god, having vanished from the far distance. This is The Emotion God looked in astonishment at the 7 original Sin Gods. The proud Greek god said, if it's so easy to resist the original Sin Gods' descent into the divine punishment array, how could it become one of the 3 great divine arrays in the divine realm? You are too naive to think that you can escape like this. Today, you only have the possibility of being suppressed. As he spoke, he slapped his palm toward the Emotion God in the void. The Emotion God's eyes narrowed, not avoiding or evading, and he raised his right hand to meet the attack. The palms collided, and the sky suddenly shook violently. But the one who shook more was clearly the Emotion God. The shock wave released by the Greek god was resolved by the large array behind him. The Greek god only swayed a bit, while the Emotion God retreated more than 10 meters in the air. Chapter 57. Taking action. The faces of the gods on the side of Emotion God turned even more ugly. From this collision, it was clear that under the effect of the great punishment array, the strength of the Greek god had at least doubled. Although it was not at the level of the Supreme God, it was very close. It should be noted that Emotion God, who was currently fused with Butterfly God, not only possessed the 8th ring radiance but also carried the Supreme God's aura belonging to Sea God. Under such circumstances, he was actually blasted back by a single palm of the Greek god. If it were any of the others, they would naturally be even more unable to withstand it. The Greek god glared viciously at Emotion God. Kid, you hurt me just now. This seed has not been injured for many years. You must pay for everything you have done just now. Emotion God coldly looked at the Greek god and said in a deep voice, don't think that you've won. As he spoke, light and shadow flickered behind him. He took a step forward with his left foot, and his right fist slowly struck out. Suddenly, the sky seemed to collapse around him, with his body at the center, and a giant scorpion-like aura flickered behind him. At that moment, all the gods present seemed to feel the anger in his heart, and that emotion contaminated them, causing even the original Sin Gods to send divine punishment array to tremble slightly. The emotion that the Emotion God controls is emotions. At this moment, the emotion he released was anger. Anger. The Greek god also snorted coldly, his face revealing a greedy look. Suddenly, he opened his mouth, and a long tongue shot out, bouncing towards the Emotion God. Crack. With a crisp sound, the Emotion God was directly blasted hundreds of meters away this time, and his body drew a dazzling purple and gold light in the air. However, the Greek god was not unscathed. His tongue almost instantly froze in the air, turning into an unretractable ice pillar. The greedy and triumphant expression on his face also froze instantly, as he stretched out his long, frozen tongue, looking particularly eerie. Get ready. Rong Nyambing suddenly made a move, waving his right hand forward, and a strange long knife appeared in his grasp. The reason why this long knife was strange was that it didn't have a physical form, but was made up of 7 colored light. At the same time, the 7 elemental gods floating behind him quickly stood in a semicircle around him, each extending a palm and virtually patting Rong Nyambing. The long knife in Rong Nyambing's hand immediately burst into an unparalleled brilliance. In this moment, even his own body turned into a 7 colored light, transparent and shimmering. The radiance emanating from his body was even stronger than that of the 7 original Sin Gods amplified by the grand array. His knife, like a deer's antler, was elusive, but the terrifying blade aura had already arrived in front of the god of greed in an instant. This sudden attack was too unexpected. When the god of greed had just captured them again, the 7 original Sin Gods had already surrounded him. They were all extremely powerful at this moment, and one-on-one, they could defeat their opponents with ease, and even had a great chance of winning against 2-on-1. Therefore, they no longer regarded the 7 elemental gods as a threat, but it was precisely this carelessness that created an opportunity for Rong Nyambing. When escaping just now, in fact, Rong Nyambing had already communicated with the god of emotion through divine consciousness. They both knew very well that it was extremely difficult to escape from the original Sin God's punishment formation, unless the formation was broken. And there were 2 ways to break the formation: either break the divine central in the God realm committee, or kill an original Sin God. It was not easy to kill an original Sin God within the formation. They were united and could rescue each other immediately once they sensed danger. Moreover, the current original Sin Gods were extremely powerful. Even if all the elemental gods present teamed up, it would be difficult to handle a single original Sin God, let alone escape from them. Therefore, if they truly wanted to escape, they had to take a risk. So everything that the god of emotions did earlier was actually to attract the attention of the 7 original Sin Gods. If they had to find the person most skilled in combat among all the gods present, then perhaps it was none other than the god of emotions. Although the god of emotions had entered the divine realm for the shortest time, he was definitely the strongest in this aspect. Moreover, it was precisely because his time in the divine realm was so brief that his combat ability and combat philosophy were the strongest. Among all the gods present, like the 7 original Sin Gods and the 7 elemental gods, they had existed since the divine realm had just come into existence. Although there had been some changes among them, they were rare and happened a long time ago. Relatively speaking, the gods who had ascended to the divine realm from the human world, no matter from which plane they came from, were stronger in terms of combat skills and combat philosophy than these gods who had originally been in the divine realm. This was because they had to constantly struggle in the human world to have a chance to ascend to the divine realm. Chapter 58. Elemental Stripping Blade. That's also why most of the original Sin Gods and elemental gods rely on their power to suppress others, because they don't really have much combat skills, and the possibility of fighting in the divine realm is too rare. And with their divine power, it's the simplest and most direct way to use their strength to overpower ordinary gods. Among the gods present, Rong Nyambing, the Distraction God, the Butterfly God, and the Emotion God all ascended to the divine realm from the mortal world. Among them, the Emotion God and the Butterfly God ascended to the divine realm the latest, and all the combat abilities and skills they gained on the Douluo continent are firmly remembered in their minds, especially the miraculous spirit fusion technique. That's why the Emotion God was able to break through from being surrounded by multiple original Sin Gods back then. This is not only understood by Rong Nyambing and the elemental gods, but also by the original Sin Gods. Therefore, after they set up the large formation, their primary target was naturally to deal with the Emotion God, and their attention was also focused on the Emotion God. The god of emotion used this very point, and through releasing the god fusion technique Golden Road, he opened up a path and led the gods of the elements to flee. The gods of original sin relied on the large array to capture them, and the first to deal with was naturally the god of emotion. In fact, the god of emotion's combat power was super strong. Even with the gods of original sin's descent and divine punishment array, the god of greed couldn't fully take advantage of it. This also drew the attention of other gods of original sin. However, they didn't know that the real killer move was not with the god of emotion. When the god of emotion began to launch all of this, the Rong Nyambing and the 7 gods of the elements had already been charging up behind him. They took advantage of the gods of original sin's lack of attention and completed this fatal killing blow. The Rong Nyambing was the previous generation's god of emotion. He had extremely strong personal strength and also ascended from the mortal realm. He was skilled in manipulating the power of the 7 elements and had a very profound understanding of the 7 elements. That's why he was friends with the gods of the elements. At this moment, with the enhancement of the 7 gods of the element strength, it was equivalent to concentrating the power of 8 level 1 gods. Even in the divine realm, this blow could be described as earth-shattering. The 7-color elemental blade was swung, and the world changed color. The original Sin God's divine punishment formation was forcibly slashed open, and this strike even surpassed the power of the Supreme God's full-strength attack. The face of the Greek god, who was originally proud, instantly twisted. His twisted and shocked expression caused him to lose all judgment of the situation in front of him. He felt like death was truly about to descend upon him, and even his divine position seemed to be on the verge of shattering. This strike from Rong Nyambing appeared to be imbued with the power of the 7 elements, but only the Greek god, who was enveloped in it, could truly feel that it was actually pure elemental stripping. Whether in the mortal realm or the divine realm, the foundation of the world is made up of elements. It's just that the concentration and purity differ. Rong Nyambing's strike aims to strip away everything, terrifying elemental stripping. This is an existence of a super divine technique, and one can clearly see that Rong Nyambing's hair instantly turned from golden to white, indicating the immense consumption this strike had on him. In the high altitude, the destruction god's face changed dramatically. At the moment Rong Nyambing struck, he knew that even if he stood in the position of the Greek god, he wouldn't be able to walk away unscathed under this strike. No wonder the sea god would keep this Rong Nyambing hidden in the divine realm and not let him leave. It turns out that with the cooperation of the elemental gods, he can unleash such terrifying power. Although it's only a single strike, it's already enough. I really overestimated myself. The god of destruction felt regretful, but at this moment, it was too late for regrets. He had no way to stop everything that was happening. Under this strike, the god of greed was bound to perish, and not only that, the divine formation would probably be torn apart, allowing these level 1 gods to escape. The air seemed to have completely solidified at this moment, and the entire divine realm was waiting for the true descent of this strike. However, an unexpected situation occurred. 6 dark-colored rays of light suddenly transformed into 6 flowing lights, almost instantaneously transferring and appearing behind the god of greed. Each of them raised their arms and imprinted their palms onto the body of one of their companions in front of them. The powers of the 6 deities were combined together, like waves surging forward and finally entering the body of the god of greed. In an instant, the 7 dark-colored rays of light simultaneously shone brightly, and the sky became dark. This time, it was purely dark without any other color appearing. The greed on the face of the god of greed disappeared. The envy on the face of the god of envy vanished. The gluttony on the face of the god of gluttony disappeared. The lust on the face of the god of lust became pure. The laziness on the face of the god of sloth was gone. The anger on the face of the god of wrath was empty. The pride on the face of the god of pride became humility. At that moment, the faces of the 7 original sin gods became incredibly serious, with an unprecedented aura of holiness appearing on them. In this moment, they seemed to no longer be evil gods, but symbols of divinity. The 7-colored light transformed into waves and finally converged on the god of greed. The god of greed's originally dark golden divine power suddenly intensified, transforming into a pure and dazzling gold color. Chapter 59. We are gods. The frozen tongue suddenly retracted and then shot out fiercely, with a strong golden light bursting out at the forefront, fiercely colliding with the elemental disintegration blade. A hollow humming sound erupted from the core of the collision. In that instant, the entire divine realm seemed to be falling apart. The hundreds of second and third level gods suspended behind the 7 sins all scattered and flew in the turbulent divine power. Each one turned pale, with divine power leaking out of their bodies. In the high sky, the god of destruction and the goddess of life also each conjured a strong light to protect themselves. The 2 supreme gods both looked stunned, staring down below. The god of emotions not far away was also hit by a tremendous force, flying straight into the castle at the center of the forbidden area of the gods before stabilizing. His purple gold armor turned into streams of light and turned back into the butterfly god, leaning pale in the arms of the god of emotions. In the next moment, the golden and colorful lights erupted once again. The terrifying turbulence swept everything around it, and the sky suddenly turned into a huge vortex of divine power, tearing everything around it apart. Even the 2 supreme gods had to flee in an instant. Fortunately, the 7 original sin gods, the 7 elemental gods, and Rong joined forces to lift the vortex into the sky. Otherwise, none of the other second and third level gods present would have survived. The terrifying divine power storm lasted for several minutes before gradually dissipating. Rong elemental stripping blade was completely shattered in his hand, and he and the 7 elemental gods were all shaken back 100 meters. Each of them had blood at the corners of their mouths, and their divine power was depleted, indicating that they had suffered serious injuries. The strong light that once shone on the 7 original sin gods disappeared, but they all had stable breaths and soon returned to normal. They gazed intently at the elemental gods in the distance. The sins they each represented did not surface on their faces, and their expressions remained serious and sacred as they calmly looked at the gods in the distance. The god of emotions quickly caught Rong whose body was trembling in midair, and looked at him incredulously. He thought his plan was flawless, but everything in front of him completely exceeded his expectations. Weren't they the 7 original sin gods? Each of them represented a sin, and they should be selfish, right? But why did they help each other at the critical moment, risking the danger of falling as gods themselves? Would a wicked god do such a thing? The god of greed, who was leading them, smiled slightly and looked at the god of emotions with his dark golden eyes as if penetrating his soul. He calmly said, "Don't you understand why they would help me when faced with a life and death crisis?" The god of greed smiled faintly and said, "That's because we are original sin gods, not original sin. One word makes a world of difference." Finally, the god of emotions understood, and his face was filled with regret. Yes. They are original sin gods, not original sin. One word makes a world of difference. What is a god? A god is an existence that controls everything they control. For example, as the god of emotions, he controls emotions. Then what about the original sin gods? They naturally control original sin, not themselves being original sin. Their true nature is still gods. As gods, everything they do is under control, and as gods, they only absorb the type of original sin energy from the mortal realm. The god of greed is not really greedy. Everything he shows is only the effect of his power and everything he controls. Although his aura is disgusting, he is still a god. When a real crisis comes, the original sin gods who are also gods will naturally spare no effort to help their partners. Because they are gods, even if they are evil gods, the evil is only in the power they control, not in themselves. The personal combat power of the god of emotions is powerful, but he has been in the divine realm for a short time, and his understanding of the divine realm is not deep enough, so he missed this point. As for Rong the elemental gods, they are not unaware of these things, but in the situation just now, they had no other choice. Only in this way could there be a possibility of a breakthrough, and the result in front of them is, of course, a failure. They ultimately failed. The 7 original sin gods had the amplification of the original sin gods punishment array. Even with an additional level 1 godly blasphemer on their side, there was still no match. The 7 original sin gods only consumed the power of the godly punishment array, while the others consumed their own divine power. Under this kind of situation, the winner was clear. At this point, all 7 elemental gods were already injured and had expended a tremendous amount of divine power. They were almost unable to continue fighting. Meanwhile, the 7 original sin gods were still in good condition. There was no need to continue this battle any longer. They had no chance left. Despite having an additional level 1 god on their side, there was still no match for the 7 original sin gods and the amplification of the original sin gods punishment array. The 7 original sin gods only consumed the power of the godly punishment array, while the others consumed their own divine power. Under this kind of situation, the winner was clear. At this point, all 7 elemental gods were already injured and had expended a tremendous amount of divine power. They were almost unable to continue fighting. Meanwhile, the 7 original sin gods were still in good condition. There was no need to continue this battle any longer. They had no chance left. Chapter 60. Let my dad go. The butterfly goddess gritted her teeth, and her delicate body trembled slightly as she held onto her emotions. She was unwilling, truly unwilling. The greed god sighed and said, "We understand your thoughts. It's just that our beliefs are different, and we can only stick to what we support. We all believe that our Lord's judgment is correct, and everything we do is for the development of the divine realm. Although there are also reasons for ourselves. It is only a small part. We will not harm you, but please do not intervene anymore. Just stand aside and watch us complete this feat of expanding the divine realm." Purple, black, and emerald green rays of light descended from the sky and turned into 2 columns of light, landing in front of the gods on both sides of the camp. The life goddess opened her arms, as if to embrace the void. The emerald green light suddenly scattered, merging into the bodies of Rong and the 7 elemental gods. Rong white hair quickly returned to its original color and he looked younger again, while the faces of the 7 elemental gods also improved significantly under the infusion of this massive vitality. As the supreme god of life, the life goddess had the ability to heal all origins. In front of her, no injury was a problem. However, the divine power consumed by the first level gods was not something she could heal. The god of destruction nodded to the 7 deadly gods. Facing the serious expression of the 7 deadly gods, he also put away his dominance and even bowed slightly to show his respect. The 7 deadly gods quickly bowed back, but when they raised their heads again, their expressions had returned to their original state. They control the power of sin and need the power of sin to do so. The original sin gods are still the original sin gods. The god of destruction stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the gods of life and emotions. He said lightly, "Take them away. This fight has lost its meaning, and you only need to wait for a new era to come. I won't harm you, and I believe that after the expansion of the divine realm, you will see everything in you and realize your mistakes. Release my father." Butterfly God suddenly screamed and rushed towards the god of destruction. Emotion God was startled and hurriedly chased after her, holding her in her arms. Butterfly God looked at the god of destruction with tears in her eyes, her beautiful eyes full of pain and unwillingness. The god of destruction didn't say anything more. The goddess of life sighed and went to the side of the butterfly goddess. She gently stroked her hand over the butterfly goddess, and the butterfly goddess's delicate body softened and fell asleep in the arms of the emotion god. The goddess of life said softly, "We've done everything we can. Let's go. The lives of the gods are infinite, and no god is willing to die easily." Continuing the battle was meaningless at this point, and the power consumed by the first level gods cannot be easily recovered. The god of destruction's red eyes were already filled with the pride of a winner, and he did not say anything more to the goddess of life. In his view, there was no point in saying anything more now. He wanted to prove to the goddess of life through his actions that he was right. Only in this way could he truly win, bring her back to his side. The faces of the the 7 elemental gods became somewhat dull, but they all nodded silently. They had done their best. Rong Niambing also sighed heavily. He stayed in the divine realm just to help the sea god once and repay his favor. However, it seems that this repayment was not very successful. But he tried his best. The slash just now was made at the risk of damaging his origin. He held nothing back. Now that the god of destruction has shown mercy, continuing the fight would be suicidal. The emotion god's gaze fell on Rong Niambing, and there was a clear sense of unwillingness in his eyes. But Rong Niambing shook his head at him. His voice echoed in the emotion god's soul. Let's go, Yuao. A green mountain is always there as long as we have a chance to burn it. Your father-in-law must have other arrangements. We just don't know them. I don't believe that a cunning old fox like him would not have a backup plan and be easily defeated by the god of destruction. We have done all we can. Now, let's pray for his cunningness. The emotion god Yuao pursed his lips, but his expression became firm. Suddenly, he turned around and faced the god of destruction, saying each word with emphasis. I challenge you. These 6 simple words were like 6 explosive thunders that sounded out. Each word made the gods present tremble with shock. Yuao. Rong Niambing called out hastily, but after he heard the 6 words spoken by the emotion god, he knew that he was powerless to stop him. One first-tier god daring to challenge the supreme god. This is not just about courage. Perhaps he is overestimating his abilities, but this resolute determination has evoked a sense of admiration among all the gods present. The one he wants to challenge is none other than the god of destruction. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.